Hi. Now, most people who work in an organisation will be familiar with an organisational chart, and they're all pretty much the same. You have a CEO or MD at the top, and then you'll have a sales department, a marketing department, a fulfillment department. So if you're selling products, it'll be actually providing the products and selling them. If you're providing a service, it'll be some sort of operations department. You'll have an HR department, an IT department, and a financial department. So those last three, IT, HR and finance, they're all sort of central functions that help the business go. Now, all these areas, every single one of them, will have a series of processes that can just simply be automated. So your sales department, for example, if it's a business to consumer transaction, someone can just send in an inquiry and ask to buy a product or a service off you, and there'll be a response. Usually you want a bit more information to find out exactly what they want. It might be, you sell red buckets. I want 5 red buckets. Can you send them to me at this address? Well, a GPT can take that information and convert it into a format, load it into a shopping cart, and actually just send a link back to the customer. So just click on here, provide your credit card details, and job's good. So you can deal with B2C sales. You can also deal with business-to-business sales, because very often with a business-to-business sale, you've got to have some sort of requirements gathering. So your GPT at the initial point can actually just make sure you've got a bit of information about it and what type of sale it is. It might be just a simple transaction, it might be a long ongoing piece of work, or it might be just one big job that you can fulfill. So there's lots of different ways that GPTs can help deal with incoming inquiries, whether it's from a website form or from an email that comes in. In theory, and with a bit more work, you can actually deal with telephone calls on them as well. So from a sales perspective, they can do a lot of the initial work, so actually set up a sales meeting, even book an appointment for you. That side of things is great, because at the end of the day, your website that's running all this and your infrastructure, it's open 24/7, 365. You don't even need to be there. That initial point can be done. Marketing is much more complicated, because ultimately you need a marketing plan, but all your research or your execution of it, there's certain types of marketing processes that will always be the same. If you're launching a new product, there's a whole set of steps you'll go through to launch the product. There'll be advertising, there'll be social media posts, there'll be all manner of things you do to make sure people are aware your product is there and the benefits that it offers from the features it provides and so forth. So there's a huge amount of stuff that can be done with marketing, and it's not just the promotion of a product or service, it's the research, market sector analysis, competitor analysis. What are your competition like? What are their USPs? How do yours compare with them? There's an awful lot of research you can do. Now, previously, you could just Google stuff and then read all the way through it. But with a GPT, you can actually elicit all the key information you want and then speed up how you plan your marketing and actually put your plans together and find out what the most appropriate approach is to do based on what you've done before and what your competitors do. And when it comes down to operations, if it's a service, there's a lot to do with the service in terms of agreeing what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and defining that in a proposal and putting all that together and then executing it. So there's a whole load of stuff to do with operations that you can automate with the GPT. In finance, you've got accounts payable and accounts receivable. So if someone sends you an invoice, has it got a purchase order number on it? Has it got the name of the person who approved it? If it hasn't got those on, you go back to the person who sent you the invoice and say, can you provide this information? And then you can determine whether you're going to approve it or not. Well, the GPT can read an invoice and see if there's a purchase order number on it. It can see if someone has been referenced, but it could even work out from contents of the invoice which department it should go to be approved for payment. And similarly, with your accounts receivable, if you sent someone an invoice and it hasn't been paid, a lot of accounts packages at the moment will send out reminders but there's no method with these accounts packages to actually deal with the response that comes in. Now, if you've been running your business for several years, you will know that there's probably about 4 or 5 different things people will email you with if they're going to dispute an invoice, or if they're going to say, I can't pay it just yet, I need to pay it say in such and such a date, or we run our accounts payable on this date, so you will be paid on this date. Well, you can create a GPT that will just process that and add a meaningful message to your system, alert someone that this has happened, but also, stop chasing for the payment if you don't need to, or maybe refine your invoice because it's wrong. But the GPT can actually read that email and do something with it. So your accounts payable and accounts receivable can all be out. HR, there's a massive amount you can do. A lot of people have competency-based job descriptions now. So they'll say 5 or 6 competencies used for a company, and it'll be a level 2, level 3, level 2, level 4 of these 4 different competencies that particular job has to do. Obviously, communication is a simple competency. A level 1, you can just deal with emails coming in and answer the telephone. A board level director communication is going to be sort of explaining strategy to people and how it ties in with the business. So competencies can all be written and developed bespoke to your business by a GPT. You can create job descriptions for every single job in your organisation just by writing a few sentences and getting a GPT to lay it out all nicely and look at how your organisation works and come up with job descriptions, which you can then turn into job adverts and recruit people. It can also assist with the recruitment process itself, with assessments and processes for that. And even when it comes down to onboarding, you can ask the chat GPT to put some typical things together. And if you've onboarded people before, you can have reference documents. So a whole pack can be created for a new employee and their line manager to say, these are the things we need to go through on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So there's an enormous amount of beneficial stuff that can happen from an HR perspective with dealing with new employees as well as existing employees, training and all the other sort of development things that go on. And similarly with IT, a lot of people in IT are now writing scripts automatically with GPTs, but the actual management of dealing with other departments and fulfilling things, there's certain things that you could automate with GPTs there as well. So there's an enormous scope of what you can do with GPTs, and really all it boils down to is an email coming in, a GPT doing something, and then an email going out and maybe a webhook to update a system. That's it. It really is that simple. And your GPT that sits in the middle, you just need to write some instructions for what it's supposed to do. And unlike a computer program, all you do is write in a simple algorithm what you want it to do. And it either does it right or it doesn't. And when it gets it wrong, you train it to do it right. And eventually, through an iterative process, you'll have a GPT that's doing what you want. And you can do it in all areas of your business, absolutely everywhere. Anything where you sit down in front of your computer, you read an email, you write a reply, and you update some system information, whether it's on your CRM system, your booking system, your quote system, whatever. Even, anything like that, you can automate with a GPT. And that means you can free up an enormous amount of your time. If you're a one-man band, well, taking pressure off your sales, taking pressure off your support, taking pressure off all these other things you do, so you can concentrate on what you do best, i.e. marketing your products and services, performing what you do for your service you provide, or delivering the product to the customer. Well, you've freed up an enormous amount of time. So my expectation is at some point in 2025 or 2026, all of this will have been done. And your entire job profile will completely change because you will be concentrating on much more meaningful stuff. And there'll be a whole plethora of other jobs as well. There'll be an AI ethics person in SMEs and large companies, an AI analyst, an AI bias consultant, all these different tasks that now need to be performed with AI. There's about 20 or 30 new jobs that are going to be out there. So whilst AI may be a threat to your current tasks and jobs that you perform in an SME or a large company, there's going to be so many opportunities. And really, now is the time to get your head around it and actually start making those changes within you, the sphere of control you have, whether it's just in your role in an organisation or your organisation as a whole. And if you visit my AI route map and the pages that are on my website, you will be able to find out a lot more about this. I've got a YouTube channel as well. It's all on SDL courses, servicedevelopments.co.uk. There's a link at the bottom here. Please explore and learn, because this is a major change that is coming and it's going to affect everybody within 2 years.